if that's okay, if you could please join with me. Father God, we come before you giving you thanks and praise. Father, we are asking that you give coverage, that you give your angels charge concerning the people of Jackson and anyone affected by the bad weather. We ask that we hold this meeting in accord with your will and able to do your work for the people of Jackson. We pray these things in your son Jesus' name. Amen. Amen.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I got a text from Nathan Wells saying he's trying to call in, but it won't let him.
Okay, I don't really know what to
I'm gonna
suggest.
send- I'm sending that down to Robert.
Yeah,
Tell him it must be user error because Councilwoman Lee's on.
Well, I know, but
and Wilson.
Wilson's on.
What may happen sometimes when people get that notice, they look at the Teams, Microsoft Teams, as opposed to the link, life size. So he needs to be looking at the life size link.
Yeah, and I sent that out.
Give me just 1 second, I'll see if we can get him. If not, we'll get him on just a speaker, but, so he needs to look at life size.
Life size, not Teams. So we send it from a Microsoft email, and so Teams automatically, populates like a Teams link, but we never use that.
Can you pull up the notice and just give them the phone number to call in?
Hang on. Let me go to the email.
I don't usually just yell out compliments across the room, but your gray hair is stunning today. So, I wouldn't. I wasn't talking to you either, Terry. Sorry.
No. Mine's not really all that great. I just got sun gray.
I can already see who my tribe is going to be, so I just want to shout out the tribe, the Gray Tribe.
Here we go. So they need to go to this call.lifesizecloud.com/that number.
And the 5252 pound.
All right,
And if I need to forward this, I can.
yeah, forward that to Nathan. I told him you were doing that. Good Lord.
Jason. That first one?
Yeah.
Not sure. How are we looking so far?
That's
Lot of red.
Power.
Yeah.
Yeah. We got another gentleman joining us here, another commissioner.
Well, that's Ted. Who is the gentleman?
I am gonna miss this.
What's going on, sir?
How are y'all?
Doing well. Doing
Greetings.
well. All right.
Sorry I'm late. You can thank the Golden Triangle over there, or the Bermuda Triangle.
Yeah. Ted,
Waterworks
did you
curve.
change something about yourself? Did you cut something? Like, why do you look different to me?
I got a haircut this morning.
Okay, maybe that's it. I'm looking at him. I'm like, it looks like Ted.
They lowered his ear.
Yeah,
BBL?
All right, so we started.
BBL?
BBL.
Uh-huh.
While we're
What's BBL?
We'll talk later.
Oh, okay.
Ted, you got to do better than that. We already started with invocation, and we're waiting to see if we can get Nathan to join us. He's having a little difficulty joining us, but we have Wilson on the phone and 7 commissioners here present with us right now. So we can go into the minutes from the prior meeting. Let's start there. Everyone had an opportunity to receive those, look over them.
Let me say something about him if I can. They're a little bit, he said the passcode doesn't work.
52 pound?
All I'm saying is he says the passcode doesn't work.
That's what happened to me in the last
What is it
The last meeting, I couldn't get in.
It's life size.
It's the same one that everyone else is using here.
Which is supposed to be again?
52 pound. See if you throw a pound on the end.
Yeah.
I mean, I literally use this every single day, the same password. I guess Shouldn't say that. Change that password to that.
Robert's leaving and change the password.
What I was gonna say about the minutes while I said that too. The recording from last month, I believe he wasn't here, somebody else was doing it. And it
It wasn't a great.
had all kinds of technical errors, only part of it was there. You know, part of it was missing. So I tried to piece these together from what parts of it you could read and what we have for the slideshow. I didn't have your financials in there because they just completely cut that out. Everything that Hibbett Neal had to say, you couldn't understand a bit of it, so it's a pretty good representation, but there wasn't anything decided at it, so I don't think I think you were gone last month. This is February anyway, not last month. And somebody did it, finally had to do it with his phone because the system wasn't working, but, so, just let you know that it's.
Would you be open to a friendly amendment at the
That's
end?
fine.
An
I was up-
asterisk that says that this represents the best memorialization of the minutes based on the technical difficulties that we had.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm adding that, or something of that
that
variety,
nature.
an asterisk at the end.
I put that in, and so I'm keeping a copy of them. You want me to add that and then send it to everybody?
Yeah, I'm gonna just, we can just,
Memorialize it.
we can, yeah, we can agree to it right now, but
But I'll-
I'm adding that friendly amendment.
But I will add it onto a copy. I'll send it to everybody afterwards if people
Okay.
are keeping a copy, yeah.
So that is my amendment. Do I have a second?
I'll
second that.
Okay. Amendment and second. Further discussion?
Further discussion. I started to try to figure out how to write that in to begin with, so I'm glad you did that, because I thought about,
Me saying?
what you said, I thought about writing into it when I wrote it.
Okay, yeah, well, I think
Yeah,
that
I think it'd be good, yeah.
Yeah. If none, all those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Unanimously. The ayes have it.
Who is the 6337?
What was that? I think that was just technically by Robert's rules, that was just my amendment of the minutes. Now we have to take the minutes as amended. So
Nathan.
do we have a motion and a second?
Motion to accept the minutes.
Oh, a second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Further discussion. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay.
Nathan is now in.
Okay, thank you for joining us, Nathan. Sorry for the confusion there.
It's all good.
All right.
Yeah.
So we just, invocation, adopted the minutes, and now we're gonna get a financial update by Mr. Malinbecker. Right, yeah, good afternoon, everyone.
I will,
Can you hear? Can y'all hear well?
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
yeah, so I'll go over the financials for, and these numbers actually run through April 9th. And for Fund 173, net obligations are at 137 million, rounded off. Life-to-date revenues and interest at 149.9 million. Expenses at 120 million. Encumbrances at $5.5 million. Of the expenses and encumbrances, about $5.1 million of these expenses roll over to Fund 157. These projects have been paid out of this particular fund, but once we reconcile, 5.1 does roll over to 157. We go to the next slide. Do you have a question on
Yes,
that
Mr. Perry.
slide?
5.7 million of the 120 million is what rolls over?
And then 5.5, right,
5.7 of the 125 million then. The 100
roughly, right.
And then, so 5.7, 5.1 comes out of the bond, should be out of the bond fund, but came out of this one.
Correct. And so those are the projects that we are tracking. Once we do the reconciliation, we'll be able to identify those particular projects that should be out of the bond fund. All right, next slide, 157, net obligations at $35.2 million, revenues and interest at 39.2, expenses at $28.3 million, and encumbrances at $1.7 million.
And when you have the 5.1 million, it's gonna mean that we spent everything we had to spend.
Correct, yes. Once you add the numbers from the previous slide to the encumbrances and expenses, you will get to the net obligation number of $35.3 million. That concludes the report on the financials. I welcome any questions.
Yes.
What's the monthly sales tax coming in looking like now?
Yes, so there was a fluctuation. In fact, last month, approximately 1.2 came in. Prior to that, we had 1.4, roughly about 1.4. So on average, on an annual average, we're looking at about $1.4 million.
Still a few months ago it was running 1.5 and a half, 1.6 for a while, so we backed down to what kind of a more historical average of
Correct.
1.4.
Yes.
Is that related to the holidays probably though?
No, it lasted longer than the holidays. It was
I think it may have been.
ARPA money.
ARPA? Maybe.
Of the excess, all the extra spending that's going on from there.
Yeah.
It's probably brought back kind of down to,
Yeah, there was an infusion of cash in different areas that maybe people were spending.
it was a little broader range than just the holidays.
No further questions? Mr. Lee, and let me say this, said it yesterday in the council meeting. Y'all are all aware that Robert is leaving us. And I just want to commend him on his service to the city of Jackson. We appreciate you and, your dedication and love for the city, and we wish you the best. Okay?
Thank you.
All right.
We're going to start with the project that has the action item, which is our neighborhood servicing program. Chad Tolles is here to answer any questions. We got two things going. One, we're putting city council change order that actually was approved yesterday to increase the contract by $76,722.50. When the contract was originally bid out, there were two intersections where a neighborhood street tied into a signalized intersection. Both were on Bailey Avenue up in Ward 3. And after taking a second look at the controller and the cabinets and the boxes, they realized it would have not done any good to cut loops in because it would not have worked in the system as it was. So what this does on those two signals, plus the one that will be added on Lamar Street there at Fortification with repaving Lamar, that was on the TED list, it's now off the TED list, is going back with a 360 fisheye camera that can see all four directions from one camera. And that does your detection for the whole intersection. That wires back in, you put a controller in there that runs it and takes care of everything. That's kind of the new technology, cuts down a lot of your excess wiring, cabling, what have you. Very convenient.
Mr. Perry has a question about that.
You said at first there's the two signals on Bailey, now you're saying there's three signals.
I know, I just saw that.
The question is, does the 76 cover all three?
All three.
Okay, that's what I want to know.
We went ahead and added the third signal in for that.
I just,
Very interesting intersection, so.
That was Bailey and what again?
Bailey at Ridgeway.
At Ridgeway.
On K Chapel.
Yeah.
And then Bailey at Eminence Road, just up the road. And then Fortification Lamar there at Dollar General.
Yeah, got it.
which one are you saying is interesting?
Well, actually, I thought he was talking about, I don't know why, in that Bailey, I was actually thinking about Woodrow I was thinking about 5 Point.
Oh, 5 Points,
okay.
Yeah.
That is our federal aid project that we're gonna put to council next time to accept bids.
Okay.
5 Points, we mast arms. So the action item here is request an additional $510,000 for change order 2. I typed this in a hurry, I apologize. To add quantities to cover the 10 streets that were on the TED list of the added contract. And Chad is here, he can answer, some of the specific questions.
I got 3 or 4 questions before we get to the change order issue. The first one I've got is who's making decisions and how they're making the decision on what to do with curb and gutters. Because as I've been out through looking at some of these projects that we've done, first one I looked at was over at Council Circle in Seminole, I believe. We got paving there 7 or 8 inches higher than the curb and gutter. We didn't replace the curb and gutter.
Which location?
The one I'm talking about right there was at, I think it's Council Circle in Seminole. It's over on the north end of Council Circle. But, you know, I thought the whole point of a lot of what we're doing was to get away from paving higher than what the curb is. And over there, I mean, I took a picture like Robert did over on Riverside Drive. I put my foot down in there and it came up above my ankle.
Let me say this for future meetings. If you could submit those pictures to us, then we can add it to the slide deck so that everybody can
If
see.
I could figure out someone to submit it, if I work on my
You
technology.
can text it. Like,
Yeah. I'll do
I
that.
wouldn't say text me, but you know.
I won't text you, okay?
So, we, on a lot of those, we coordinate with Robert and get his opinion. Also, though, it's, honestly, there's a lot of places like that, and we have to pick and choose.
I'm fixing to go to some I'm even more concerned about than that one, so
Okay.
don't stop on that.
Sure.
Woodland Hills,
That was not me. I had
it was not you, I left that one. I did all this Friday after
Yeah.
talking about part of what this change order was dealing with Robert. I drove over there and looked at that, so then I went over to Woodland Hills where they're paving. And the curb and gutter over there, it looked like a jigsaw puzzle that my kids dropped out of a box. And the answer I got was, it's so bad we're not gonna fix it. And if it's so bad we're not gonna fix it, we ought not be doing this project. I mean, that area over there was one little section, maybe 5 foot, that looked like it was replaced, but all the rest of it, there ain't no curb and gutter, it's just piles of concrete like it was dumped out of the back of a dump truck. Now, I realize we're paying y'all $300-something thousand to be out there on the job to make these decisions on site. But if we make a decision that this doesn't have to be fixed, what does have to be fixed?
Well, we take, like I said, Woodland Hills in particular, you know, our original contract was that we were trying to put as much money towards overlay as possible, and so it was trying to minimize, we were only doing minimal curb repair.
Wait a minute. Let me pause you right there.
Hold on, Commissioner. If we could I just want to hear that, and then we come right back to you.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's
Because I'm trying to understand.
Okay.
I'm learning in this.
That
process.
wasn't the original contract. Somebody got a misunderstanding of what the original contract was, so go ahead.
Anyway, but in Woodland Hills in particular, yes, we had to make some decisions on, we were just trying to, whatever we can do to maintain drainage, because honestly, that whole neighborhood, the curb needs to be replaced in pretty much that whole neighborhood, and if we do that, then that frankly could take all the money. And so I was trying to balance out paving with curb repair.
Okay, but excuse me. We decided when we started this project, we're gonna fix this. We're sitting over there now, we probably won't go over there and pave those streets again for 20 more years. And so that means those curbs are gonna be left, like you say, they all need to be replaced. Every one of those over there looks to me like they need to be replaced. And when we started this project and we looked around at all these, yes, we wanted to maximize paving, but paving includes fixing the street. It doesn't mean just the surface. And we've said we're gonna fix curb and gutter, replace it where it needs to be replaced. 2 years ago, now this didn't have to do with y'all, when we talked about West Capitol, and we were told, why are we replacing every bit of curb and gutter over there and every bit of sidewalk? The answer was, we want to make it like the rest of the city of Jackson. Yes, and I said, well, that's not what the rest of the city of Jackson got on the state aid, but we still did it. I think, I'm glad we did it over there, it looks good, but it wasn't all as bad as this up there is. There's no sense in paving those streets and leave that curb and gutter like that. I mean, if we're going to do that, I don't see any sense in doing this project.
How far along are we on the paving?
Well, when I went over there, Jonathan could probably tell us because he just left there, but when I went over there Friday last week, they had paved one half the street that comes in up there at the top of the hill where it forks, and they were shooting down the oil for the other side.
I mean, I think we have an understanding of what you're talking about, but if you have the pictures, I'd like to look at them now.
I don't have, I got the pictures of Council Circle, but the picture of this over there, it was just there wasn't anything to not take pictures of. You had to just go through the entire street, the entire circle.
And this is in Woodland.
All right, look, you see up there all right, go further up there past the fork.
And let me ask this, returning to Ted's question, how far along are we, and what would be, could we get a cost of what it would take to deal with the curb and gutter?
Sure.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. I think that would be helpful.
I think that'd be helpful, but when we hired Neil Schaefer to give us a cost estimate, it included figuring out what needed to be done and including that the cost estimate. It didn't say, give us the cheapest you can get by with and sit here and look at stuff like that and say, we're gonna leave it. I mean, if we're gonna do that, I question, and that's not the worst example right there. If you get up there, go up there just past the fork and go to the right, I don't know, you're about where on the right side of the road. That, I can't tell where you are.
Glenway,
Okay, but
see, it's just kind of.
I'm trying to tell you where I want you to go to.
Up this fork?
No, come up there to the first fork. Now then, you see about, all right, now then go to your right and look on the right side of the street.
That curve.
All this?
So are they milling that down to the gutter?
Well, they haven't milled that yet.
It depends. I mean, ideally, yes, but there are some places where the asphalt is above the gutter line way more than I like.
And that's where we said to replace the curb and get it there, because we said specifically, we talked about North State Street, that project over there where there was a 10-inch drop off from curb, where it's been repaved over and over and the curb is settled. And we were trying to get away from that.
So my request would be that we get an estimate of what that costs. I mean, we need the knowledge. I mean, I would agree that we would prefer to do fewer projects correctly than more projects.
Thank you.
Not as we would
Sure.
like them.
And I apologize.
I'm learning in this
Mayor,
moment.
you just expressed my very heartfelt opinion. I'd rather do it right and do fewer than just patch over and say we got a new surface there but left the mess in the way it was. Let's do it right, even if we get fewer done this year.
And we invite you, and I'm interested in Robert's perspective on this, but we invite you to, like, if you're moving forward with something and you discover that something's gonna be more costly, just like a home renovation, then just come back and say, listen, I need you to know that for us to do this the way that it needs to be done, this is what the cost is. And we'll bring it back to this body or whoever else we need to and, try to address it accordingly.
And as we're looking at phase B and C of this, which is in the works and where it is and all that.
Yes.
Before we get into that, let's have this discussion. What we're talking about here on the one that's underway for those two. Yeah.
You have any thoughts on this?
Issue you got, I mean, I'm just gonna speak in general. A lot of parts of your city, particularly hilly areas, Belhaven, Woodland Hills, your curb and gutter sections have been moved around, jostled around over years. What has to be decided is if we're gonna go do curb and gutter replacement on a road, saying we want to replace curb and gutter that's just completely out of sorts and make that final determination. And then that's factored into the budget for what you're doing.
Yeah, and it may be, in some instances, we may decide that, hey, we want to appropriate more money towards that particular issue. In some instances, it may be the difference between the streets we choose at that moment in time and say that we might go to another one, right? And part of this issue for me is we're also on another end trying to spend $40 million towards stormwater systems, right? And, I've gotten so deep into it where we've been trying to coach residents not when they have their lawns cut, not to, sweep all of the clippings into the street and in the drain. I've even looked at other cities that have these drain,
Yeah, I think.
and I don't know, I don't know whether that's helpful or not helpful, but I'm trying to figure out how do we, put another layer of protection, to stop our stormwater system from getting into the condition that it's in now. So,
I've got a couple of these, I'll try to,
can I see them? If you don't mind us passing your phone around.
that's the one over on Council Circle where we paved just a couple of inches above the curb, but if you scroll over one or two, you'll see where
Yeah,
it's
there's
about
some-
8 inches above the curb.
Some bad areas, for sure.
Yeah, but
yes.
either mill it down and get it below the curb or replace the curb. All right, no, look on the other side, Robert.
Right,
If you
There?
go, Ted, if you
No,
go to the right.
let's see.
right.
Tell me how you
This is
came
on
in
council.
there. Where's
Yes.
council? All right,
There's
back up from where you are.
To,
Yeah, that,
Turn, yeah.
oh,
keep, no. I want Council Circle.
Council Circle.
That's Eagle Avenue.
No, this is Seminole. Ignore it. Google, it's wrong. So this is Council and Seminole here.
All right, to your right, to your right.
Am I right?
Yes.
To your- no,
Oh, my other right.
right, going up that way.
Okay.
All right, I believe right there is where, back up, about where that car was.
Move that car out of the way.
Move
Yeah,
that
can
car.
we move that car out
All
there?
right, I think right in there is where,
It just so happens to be
is where
where
the
a car
6-inch step
pulled
up
up.
is. But it's,
You have a piece of
But-
curb there that's out of,
no, I'm not talking about
but that's
that's it, but I mean, that's not the only one problem. I mean,
yeah,
there's a drain right up in there and we didn't want to replace the drain but that's not where it's been repaved. Look at all the cracking. That's not current. That's not what's,
no, this is 22.
this what?
This is 22.
Yeah, but I mean, to look at it as it is now, you're not,
Excuse me.
You have
my,
this.
my point
Where's
is,
the curb?
in that area,
It's under there somewhere.
we didn't mill it down to the curb in some places, so we're about 2 inches above the curb, and then in some places, it's 8 inches above the curb. And so, we're going back to what we said when we did all this other, we need to get away from.
So I know that this is just like shot in the dark, rough estimate. What would it take for us to replace curb and gutter in an area like that, like cost-wise? And
Just
based
in the Woodland Hills?
on, based on the work, I mean, well,
We got
I want to
any-
know, because it's the project that's in front of us,
We
right?
got
I
a
mean,
unit cost on this one. What's the unit cost on curb and gutter on this one?
I don't know. I don't remember off the top of my
Okay.
head.
And what would it do to the progress that has already been made on the paving?
I don't think we would have to redo any of the paving. There may be some minimal amount of curb and gutter that would have to be redone. In all the instances where the asphalt was way above the gutter line, we always milled more than we put back, trying to reduce it, trying to balance. And I just apologize. I misunderstood what we were trying to do. If I'd have known that you wanted any bad curb replaced, I would have proceeded that way. But I can certainly work up an estimate as what it would cost. But I mean, the Woodland Hills area, if you're doing that, you're looking at almost a complete road reconstruction to do that.
In most instances where it's that bad, then we want to at least consider. We want to consider it regardless,
Okay.
right? And just identify which direction we want to go,
Okay.
right?
Yeah, I don't think in any way we're saying you replace every bit of curb and gutter everywhere.
Yeah.
It's replace what needs to be replaced. But if it needs to be replaced, then we wanted it replaced. And if it's broken up and doing like this, like some of that over in Woodland Hills, I think the intent was to replace it. Now, I think it might be that when y'all did your estimate to tell us what this first project was gonna cost us at $6 million, it only cost us $5 million. You didn't estimate by what we were looking at with all the, I don't remember if you were in the meeting when I sat down over there with y'all when we were looking at all these streets and talking about it. I don't think you were,
It was
but,
not.
but we did talk about curb and gutters at that meeting. You weren't there.
Yes.
Hibbett was, and somebody that, I forgot.
Keith probably.
Keith was. I don't think we replaced all of it. At Woodland Hills, it might be replacing a good bit of it.
Just because it's all out of sorts like
Yeah,
it is.
because it's out of sorts now. You know, in some other areas, it's just a section here, a section there to make it all work. But I don't think we want to be putting asphalt higher than what the curb is.
Okay.
Because that's what we were saying has been a built-up problem for years that we didn't want to contribute to that.
So let me say this. In the course and scope of my work, I've always been impressed with the work of Neil Schaefer, right? And I just am, and there are others. But the general, I'll just tell you from the city standpoint, the general position that we have is just anytime there's a change or there's a potential challenge that will exist in doing your work, just let us know, and then we'll bring it back around and identify what we want to do from there. And so it doesn't put you in the position where there's some question of what you've done, where you were just trying to make the money stretch, right? It puts you in the position of saying, listen, you're making an informed decision the entire way, right? I'm telling you what your options are. In some instances, your options may be that, hey, we're going to leave this like it is, and we'll all collectively decide that. And in other instances, we'll say, listen, we think that this is, bad enough that we gotta stretch the pennies and make sure that we accommodate this challenge here.
Okay.
But you were in the middle of your kind of your update.
I've got one more question to ask about, this goes to that change order. But I go back to the point you said, I'd rather do fewer projects and do them right
Right.
than to stretch and just piddle and get close to it. You're fixing to go to the action item to add 10 streets, and there's one, you're putting back those streets that we took out because of misunderstanding from the water,
Yes.
and 2 more that Robert talked about when we talked. Saint Ann is not on that list. Do you know why Saint Ann is not on that list?
I thought it was on the list.
Saint Ann, the list Robert just sent said everything
There
but
it
Saint
is.
Ann.
Saint
No,
Ann.
wait, look at, that's what we said.
Y'all have this list too. It's in your documents here.
Okay,
It
maybe.
should be. This is going to be checked, one of the checked areas?
No, this is another
What-
PDF, and I have it up on the screen for everybody.
Okay. Which phase is this?
1A.
All right, well, my question was,
So
okay,
this-
maybe it's on there, it just wasn't highlighted.
Oh, that's the only one that doesn't have sidewalks.
Okay,
Oh,
so it's
okay.
on there, it's just, okay.
That's, of all those, it's actually the only one that does not have
Which
sidewalks.
Okay.
one, which street is this?
All right, look,
Saint Anne.
St. Anne, okay.
Mayor, here's what I was looking at. I thought because it wasn't highlighted, they weren't including it.
Ah, okay. I
So
got it.
it's included?
Yes,
okay,
absolutely.
okay. I couldn't figure out why it wasn't, okay? I just,
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I thought I was clear, like the highlight sidewalks on at least one block of the street were highlighted, and the ones without sidewalk not highlighted.
I didn't, okay, I'm fine with that. I just couldn't figure out why St. Anne was not in the rest of them. All right, my question is, go ahead.
I don't remember where I was, honestly.
So the action item was request additional 510 for change order number 2.
And you were going to answer any questions related to the action item?
Can I suggest that because 510 is based on, we originally appropriated 6, obligated 6, this is gonna be another 1.5 million or something, so it's 510 is what's left over. But that's all still based on estimates.
Yes.
It's not based on actual costs. I would, and because we're now talking about curb and gutters.
Yes.
That we ought to make that action item to consider obligating an additional $1 million for change order 2, because the estimates, we don't know the 5, it might be 515, and then we'd have to come back again, so that's just an estimated
And
number.
this doesn't get into the curb and gutter discussion.
And this doesn't, and if you want to deal with curb and gutters that we know we're looking at over there at Woodland Hills, but same situation. It's not nearly as bad on those Belhaven streets, but
Is that in the form of a motion?
that is in the form of a motion.
Second. Wait, let me understand your motion.
Can you make the motion again?
Up to,
That we obligated an additional $1 million on the Phase A, 1A project
To address.
to address these additional streets that were taken off, that we're putting back on, and the cost related to those additional 10 streets. And that also includes the change order one.
You want to say something about curb and gutter in that motion?
Well, let's deal with that motion, but I can say that. it can-
You're adding $1 million.
Well, I'm adding $1 million because I wanted to do what I think the original motion for $6 million had in it, which was to fix curb and gutter.
Go ahead and put it in this motion too.
And that we ought to look at fixing all the curb and gutter properly rather than ignoring it.
Okay. Second. All those, any questions? If none, all those in favor? Aye. We got anybody else on the phone? I think I heard Wilson. Did you say anything?
Yep.
Okay, okay, so it's unanimous. All right.
So I do have a question about just the project in general. So I'm assuming, it's stopped, and I'm assuming it's to address what looks like a sinkhole.
Yeah, there's an issue, and I've reached out to Jackson Water a couple of times, and they were supposedly TVing the line that's trying to see if it was sewer. So yes, once they determine what they're gonna do there, we will continue the work. Obviously, the weather has had the milling and paving crew, so they were looking at this week, but with the weather, it'll probably likely be next week before they start back up.
Okay, so we still don't really have a time frame, so to speak, until we get a solution from Jackson Water.
As far as with the Woodland Hills area,
Yeah.
yes, yeah, we don't.
Thank you.
All right.
If-
We're good. Thank you, sir.
If you were gonna go look at those curb and gutters in Woodland Hills, would that mean that likely they might move the paving somewhere else because they gotta do a bunch of concrete work first?
Possibly.
Possibly.
I mean,
That's just an idea, yeah.
Yes, and I don't remember how much is exposed milling. I don't remember that. If it's a
Yeah.
lot, we may have them go on and cover that up to keep it from raveling and becoming muddy and
Yeah,
everything.
it's already happening, so it would be great if they could, if it makes sense.
I think the half of that main entrance street has been milled, but I don't know how much you got there.
Yeah,
Okay.
That's a few days ago, so I don't know.
All right, we'll take a look at it. Yeah. Thank you.
All right, then Neil Schaefer's working on phase 1B and 1C on the bid documents.
Can we assume that you can carry back the message about 1B and 1C?
Yes.
Of what we just talked about curb and gutter?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm almost through getting those proposal documents together, but I will go back and look at in light of what we
I
discussed.
mean, that just
today.
might change your estimate on what it's gonna
Yes,
cost.
yes, for sure.
I just say that the quality of work, not taking a shot at anybody, but the quality of work that the city has done in recent years is just noticeably better than some other entities that have done paving in our city, and we want to make sure that we maintain.
What we've done, and just riding over, compared to what this commission funded in 2016, is night and day.
But I wasn't even talking about
Yeah.
any past.
Yeah, but
I
I'm
was
just
talking about-
I'm just saying that.
I'm obviously talking about the county,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, but the last time we did neighborhood street paving was in 2016, and some of those didn't touch any of these things. It's a whole lot better, and I'd rather see it continue to be better.
Yeah, I agree with that.
All right, and then with the street list now finalized, Myriad Consultant, which is Stephanie Vivian's, we've asked her to pull together a proposal for the sidewalk work that'll be complimentary for 1A, B, and C, and then get us a project, get an estimate on the engineering estimate on the construction cost. And that should be presented at the meeting next month.
Do we need to know what the status of 1B and 1C is before we do anything with that?
I think we can go ahead and get design rolling, because it's got to go to city council anyway in May.
So this is just a contract for them to get the design rolling, of not doing the actual?
Not the construction, no, this is design, because
Yeah, I got you. I'm
there's a little more,
I misunderstood.
yeah.
Speaking of those and the fact that we want to let each commissioner know that you're welcome when we have press conferences on these streets, it gives me an opportunity to say here before you this Friday at 11 a.m. We're looking to do a ribbon cutting on Riverside Drive. And so each commissioner Anybody in the room that wants to come, y'all are invited, but I want to specifically invite y'all to that particular press conference, and more to come. So, all right.
I think y'all sent out a calendar invite, didn't you?
I think we did, but I wanted to also say it before you.
Yeah.
I think Melissa may have sent it out.
Yeah, I got it on mine.
You didn't get it? Okay.
11 o'clock.
So that's 11 a.m. at obviously at Riverside Drive.
Which end?
I don't
Yeah,
know.
which, where?
Look for
It
the
ain't
crowd.
that long
Just
that you
look
can't
for the
find
crowd.
it. Look for the crowd. I'm assuming closer to the bridge, but that's just a mere assumption. So I don't know.
I hope not. That's
That's the part that's not
the part
finished.
that's not done.
Maybe it's the other side.
I would
don't
prefer
know.
Peachtree.
I think it'd be a lot better on the other end. Yeah.
Okay,
The
well,
Peachtree
maybe-
end probably be the better end.
Okay, well,
Um,
that's above my pay grade. So I'm just telling you to be there, and I'll be there too.
I just-
Asking you to be there.
Whoever's arranging for it might not know that end on that is not done, so somebody,
I will call Melissa after.
call Melissa, yeah.
Yeah.
While we have kind of Neil Schaefer on the forefront, I wanted to bring up the Medgar Evers Raise Grant. We had the office review yesterday. I unfortunately wasn't able to make that. Those office review plans, any comments that were generated, they'll be revised and then submit the 100% plans to MDOT. We have an attached budget estimate that somehow did not get attached. Chad, what was the budget estimate?
The estimated construction,
Oh, I know, it was a, hang on.
I'm sure there's a breakdown from cities.
There we go, it was a PDF, I'm sorry. So this is the budget estimate for Medgar Evers Raise Grant. The preliminary engineering, we've funded through the modernization tax, and that's been about $1.5 million, $1.6 million, out of Fund 372. The current construction estimate's $24 million, estimated CNI is 3. The raised grant amount is $20 million, so looking at about $7 million needed to cover the remainder. This is an 80-20, so 20 million is your federal, 5 is the mandatory match based on an 80-20 split, and additional 2 to cover the remainder of the costs.
Does the 1.5 allocated by the city through the modernization tax, can that go towards the 5 million?
No, because your construction cost is 20. These are costs that need to be incurred. Your construction, and your CNI. We've gone through and done everything the federal way on the preliminary engineering, just to make sure that if money fell out of the sky, we could use that as a match. Use that as a match, just to kind of check our boxes, just in case. But right now, as it stands, that would be 7 million in addition to what's been expended by the city to date.
It'd be 7 million in addition to what the city spent, and in addition to the 5 million that we spent already on that same section of land.
To do some punch outs, this is a far more extensive.
Which now that 5 million is gonna be wasted because this is replacing it.
Well,
If we had known that this was going on at the time we approved the 5 million, and this was being requested, would we have spent the 5 million?
well, there's an ongoing effort to secure federal funds for a number of projects. We did not have the inside baseball to know that we would succeed here and that the value of this project would be accepted, one, because of the new federal landmark or the federal park that is there in the Medgar Evers home. That was a contributing factor to their decision to support this. There's a lot of money. MDOT, City of Jackson, is putting money into this. So this will be a revenue generating corridor for the City of Jackson. They're looking at creating an entrance to the Medgar Evers home that will be accessible from Medgar Evers Boulevard. And so I think that we would be well served to invest in an area I had sailors from the USS Jackson that were here earlier this week touring the city. And one of the places that they were very adamant about wanting to go to as they were touring was the Medgar Evers home. And so I think that we could potentially see a lot of benefit from investing in
If
Medgar.
this money was being spent on the north end, which is where the Medgar Evers home is, rather than on the south end where we just spent $5 million fixing it up, it would make a lot more sense to me.
Well, it's
I just give my comments you
I
gave
got
me.
you.
Now, we did apply for the first section of North End from state maintenance line at Northside Drive down to a Sunset. We did apply for that for pavement funds to the MPO. That will be announced at the Intermodal Technical Committee meeting on the first Wednesday of May at CMPDD. That's 11 a.m. And then the Policy Committee, which is the second Wednesday, will make the final approval.
Yeah. And let me say this in conclusion. I accept your position on that. I agree. I'm trying to make sure that we don't throw good money after bad, and that's our conversation about ensuring that we do fewer projects correctly than more, just to say that we touched as many as we could. We've talked about utility cuts and Jackson Water and not duplicating areas and making sure that we're looking at it. So if I had the benefit of the crystal ball to know that that would be supported, then maybe would have, waited. Didn't know that. And at the same time, I'm dealing with a community that had an absolutely treacherous circumstance that they had to navigate each and every day. So I don't think that our money was for naught, because that condition of that road was terrible, right? And it's still not pristine.
I drove that road 2 weeks before we started construction on it. It wasn't treacherous, it wasn't in good shape, but we got lots of roads in Jackson worse than the condition that road was. It was very drivable. I drove it at 35
Well,
miles an hour.
respectfully, I disagree. I drive
Okay.
my campaign headquarters every single time I've ran have been
Okay.
there. My father's campaign
Okay.
headquarters every single time he ran was there. I had a center in that area. I know that
Okay.
area very well, sir.
Well,
So
I
there
rode
are a
it-
lot of streets that
I
you
rode
have driven.
I rode it several times
Okay.
besides just 2 weeks before that.
There-
It
there-
wasn't the
there-
only time I
okay.
drove.
Where we
And
spent the money
that is
on?
your personal assessment of it, and
Can you go
mine
back to the
differs from
area?
Your
yours.
personal
Okay,
assessment
so
was
that's what
it
it
was
looks like
treacherous
now.
and undrivable. Mine was I drove it at 35 miles an hour and it didn't tear my car up.
Go back
So
to the aerial.
there were plenty of others that were bad. I don't say it was in good shape. I
what-
agree with
show
you.
me the
I'm not
distance
saying
that
it
we've
was at all.
done and then where we're
I agree
spending the
that it
27.
There are many streets that you have an advantage on me because I'm not traveling this. I don't have the time to travel every street in
And
Jackson.
then we did
My opinion just differs from yours.
right here around home,
So.
where we had asphalt overlays. And
And
asphalt was
So
coming
we
out.
did that sec-
The 27 million is gonna be spent
No,
where?
27 million will be from 5 Points
All the way.
to Ridgeway Street up
And
here.
where was that 5 million? Where was that 5 million spent?
Right
We
there.
did this.
No, it was from 5 Points to up there. We did some right down at 5 Points. We did it all the way up through there.
Would
I
you-
drove it with Hibbett, Neal, and Keith after talking about this very issue about the places where we did. Your point where one big section, but we did punch outs down here.
Mr. Perry,
Okay, so let me say
let me
this.
finish answering the question.
We're gonna let you finish answering the question, and then we obviously have a moment where we'll agree to disagree after that. Go ahead.
The areas where we did major concrete removal was at the was around the intersection of Medgar Evers and Holmes, which was asphalt overlaid some years ago, which was a terrible idea. And this is the
Where you see it was done, yeah.
before
Much better than what it was.
with the asphalt overlay, and then the after. And then we did the stretch up here from Freedom Corner to Summit. And then we also did spot punch out repairs from 5 Points. I know 1 or 2 of them down there close to O'Reilly, all the way up towards the MDOT line where we had some really bad pop-ups. Cut those out and did punch out work. But your major work was this long block, Freedom Corner, Summit, and then right around Holmes Avenue.
And that,
Here.
and that major point that you're talking about, all the rest of it too, we're gonna cut it out and redo it now because it's changing the widths of the lanes and the median. I would just suggest everybody drive, you can tell where we did it. You can see the new concrete. Drive up there and see where we just spent $5 million that's now gonna be gone.
It's one of the punch outs we did.
I think that we are not going to look a gift horse in the mouth. We certainly didn't do this project to the condition that a street that we're going to be doing a ribbon cutting on this week. It's certainly not as comprehensive of a project as what Riverside Drive is.
Or
We
West,
can't.
or West Capitol Street,
Yeah.
or 2 or 3
Okay,
others.
and that's my point. I'm an equal opportunity offender or supporter.
But we
right?
did
Like, I'm gonna
spend,
support
but we
every
did spend
community.
$5 billion on them and then go
I'm
throw
not,
it away
yell-
and
I'm
spend it
not yelling
again.
at you. You don't want that. So don't yell at me. We're going to make sure, I am going to always advocate for every corner of this city. And I'm going to make sure that we're pushing and doing the quality of work. I just finished saying that I'd rather do fewer projects than more, because I want to make sure that the quality of work in every section of this city, when people see us do work, they should know that the city of Jackson cares about their community. They shouldn't think that the city of Jackson just did a patch project to get them through. Now, the reality is that we did do a patch project on Medgar Evers because we didn't have the resources at the time to do the quality of work that we just finished talking about. We just finished talking about quality meaning something to us, right? And there is no way that we can look at that street and say, look, we gave our best work at this, that we achieved quality for this. Not to mention that there are, and you know what? I'm going to stop here because I said that we would agree to disagree and we move on. So I'm going to follow my own position,
Okay.
and we're going to move on.
I'm gonna say one thing, that section right there, we did very good, fine quality work for a mile long, we tore it all out and replaced it, and did quality work in there, and that now is gonna be thrown away. And we did quality work in that section. I'm not against quality work throughout the whole section, but I am against spending that money for that main section that Mr. Lee was just pointing to, and now every bit of that's gonna be torn out and redone again, because this new project's gonna put new water lines and sewer lines underneath it. And so,
Not that we need that.
well, not, but we've already, but we just spent $5 million to pave it.
I got you. Given the option of doing nothing or that, we chose to do that, right?
Let's move
Now,
on.
given the option that we have more comprehensive measures that we can do, then I think we should. But we're done with that. What other updates do you have for us?
All right, Riverside, Hemp Hill's made the repairs at Salvation Army headquarters. We all got together and realized there was a mix-up. So we're gonna go ahead, we've got an underrun, so we're gonna.
Do we have any more precise date for when the connection will be from Jackson? I feel like we've had several meetings now where the expectation is that Jackson Water's gonna make the connection.
No. I think it's gonna be based on how they're able to cut down, you know, as they do their work both at the plants and in the system, when they can schedule cutting down or cutting off fuel and letting O.B. Curtis bear the load for the time they need to not have water go through that line. And they've made some improvements. We had a meeting with Jacobs and their
March or
plant
April.
team this morning.
I don't think it's gonna be that soon.
No, March, we're in April now. It was March or April when this started.
Yeah, I just think knowing the condition of our plants, even though they're improved, and knowing the effort that has been made in order to increase water pressure, and having to take on, redistributing that pressure, the weight of that pressure onto, fuel, I don't see that happening anytime soon.
But that'll be a discussion we have with Ted next week at my last meeting with Ted.
How big of a priority is this to Ted?
That's a good question. He asked how big of a priority is it for
My impression is this is not a priority to him because this only fixes a street. Right now, that water line is working fine and it's doing fine. This needs to be done so our street project can be finished. So it's not a priority to him, I believe.
Well, they're working, right now, they're working out in front of the real-time command center. They're doing some major
Yeah.
valve work there.
I've seen that, yeah.
So they are working on the line straight out of the plant. And that'll be a discussion point I'll have with Ted next week.
Is it? Yeah.
I think what we're depending on you for, Robert, is to just give us an honest assessment of how big of a priority this is for Jackson Water. We're not asking you to achieve a miracle, but we want to know so that we have a real a real understanding of what we're looking at in terms of continued delays on this project.
Okay.
Question,
Yes.
Jonathan, has a question.
Yeah, and I want to just, because I feel like there may have been a conversation that all of us weren't privy to. On the issue that occurred after the construction was done, that first point is referencing fixing that issue.
Yes.
So,
That's-
what I want to it sounds like, and I want to make sure I'm not making any assumptions, it sounds like we discovered it may have been something on our end as opposed to before we thought there was a Salvation Army issue.
It was on the Salvation Army's end, but we think somebody on the city side said, no, it's a city thing, so it went running, and then then everybody realized, no, it's Salvation Army end.
Okay.
I think it was a miscommunication as far as what broke where, when
Okay.
water was flying. I think given that we've got an underrun.
That's what I was going to ask.
on the-
Do we need to give any?
No, we
Okay.
we're gonna, we actually got the final paperwork in from Hemp Hill late last week. We're looking at, I think either $600,000-700,000 underrun.
That's because of that bottom point there.
Yes,
Because the bottom, we don't, I mean, the
Which
bottom
is-
point is because we're not doing that.
yes.
The question is, just because it's an underrun, whose fault is it that curb and sidewalk had to be replaced?
I think last time we talked about it, it was Salvation Army.
Salvation Army.
That's what I thought, Mayor, but I'm hearing him say something different.
Different.
Hang on. Salvation Army had something let go on their end. It looked like, based on conversations, somebody on the Jackson Water side said, no, this is a Jackson Water issue. And then it let run, didn't come back, get repaired. Salvation Army came back and repaired it like, on Monday or whatever it was. I think it was, based on now what I know in discussing with everybody, I think there was a communication issue as far as who said it needed to be done. And my thinking is, given that one, Jackson Water has a finished project on their dime, well, we have an underrun. I think the most feasible thing to do, we go ahead, pay for the fix, get it out the door, and we're done.
Because we have an underrun, we ought to go fix something that's not ours to fix. That's not happening.
I think just like what we talked about the curb and gutters, I think it is important to know whose responsibility it is. But I would say that we have to collectively weigh, once we realize what priority this is to Jackson Water or not, right? If Jackson Water is going to do it and they're going to do it timely, then it's a non-issue for us. But if they don't, then I think I'm not saying which way we go, but I think we need to consider what we want to do for the benefit of
But I'm talking about the sidewalk down the street, not the Jackson Water issue.
connection. Okay, I got you.
I'm talking about the number one item up there,
What
not
kind
number
of
three.
dollars are we talking about to fix it?
It was about $78,000.
And just because we got an
That was
underrun,
about-
that's gonna spend
that was
$78,000.
a block worth of stuff getting washed out and
I
rearranged.
mean, I
So you
thought.
suggesting we sue the Salvation Army?
Yes, sir. No, I think we make Salvation Army's insurance pay for what they pay insurance for, and that's what insurance is for.
I'm not saying that they might not need to, but that ain't
Well,
the one I don't want to say to the
The issue is, there may have been somebody on Jackson Water side said, when it was running, no, this is a Jackson Water issue.
There may have been. Is that what insurance companies always argue about and try to get resolved out, or we're just gonna assume it and say, write another check for $78,000?
I mean, is there just not a way, for us to go ahead and repair it and pursue it?
We've already repaired it.
It's done.
Okay.
We've already repaired it.
I got it, great.
And if we repair it based on getting this money from the insurance, we know that money never goes back in our account. So my question is, just because we've got an underrun, does that mean, hey, let's go spend it? I don't like suing the Salvation, I don't like suing anybody, I'm not a lawyer that likes suing anybody, but I do realize that's what insurance is for.
There's some people I like suing, but
I know.
Terry, let's have a deeper conversation about what communication we want to have, and we'll just take it from there. Okay.
I mean, to me, frankly, that underrun, isn't part of the project. That's not an underrun. The project was through. Hemp Hill was over, done, sent all the money in. This is a separate project over there. Now, if the city wants to just go pay for that and not deal with it, that's fine, but it's not part of what the $15 million bond issue expenditure was for. This was, If it had happened 6 months later, 8 months later, it wouldn't be being paid out of that bond issue. The fact is, it happened 2 or 3 weeks after Hemp Hill pulled away. If it happened 6 months later, it wouldn't be being handled as part of that project, and that underrun wouldn't be applied to it.
So ribbon cutting Friday. Federal aid project, Medbrook Road, construction's done. Documentation, second round of documentation is submitted to MDOT. Mill Street Concrete Bridge, we've cut the ribbon. We didn't get terribly rained on. That,
You didn't get run over either?
no, we were on the side of the road.
Since
I got rained on. I stayed out there a little longer than everybody else, but it's all right.
Terry Road resurfacing, MDOT is reviewing submittals. Woodrow Wilson.
Wait. What did you find following our discussion 2 months ago about those 20-something manholes that are not at right level, and you were gonna get with Southern Consultant to get it?
They say what they said, I'm trying to remember this off the top of my head, is that they did the best they could as far as getting the asphalt pulled together, tying those manholes.
Who was the contractor on that one?
Hemp Hill.
Have we done a certificate of completion?
That was what you asked 2 months ago.
Yeah, have we done a certificate of completion?
Let me double check and see if we have or haven't.
I'm not signing a certificate of completion if that isn't done.
Okay, let me double check on it.
Thank you, Mayor. I think, driving down Old Canton Road and seeing what we did over there and hitting all those manholes that had like potholes, you know, I've just said we ought not be paying Hemp Hill or Southern, because Southern's going to let them do it until they get it fixed right.
Yeah. Terry, you'll check and make sure we hadn't done a certificate of completion on that?
I wouldn't know, that'd be.
Oh, it doesn't, I mean, y'all approve everything that I sign, so.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess we can check. I mean, I think Robert would probably, between the two of us, we'll
Okay,
figure it out.
if y'all can just
Yeah.
find that out. Find that out.
Woodrow Wilson from MLK to Mill Street. We got authority advertised. Dates have been set. We're getting the.
Dr. Marley, look out for that, so that it doesn't come through and we
The
just,
certificate of.
yeah.
Advertising date set, getting the PDF pulled together, put up on central bidding. That'll open sometime mid to end of May.
That's on Woodrow Wilson?
Woodrow Wilson from
Is it-
MLK to Mill Street. That finally shook loose.
That's the one that we've been battling over?
No, that's the other one. No, that's the other one. This is the one west of the tracks. That's just taking.
So that's 55 that we're talking, what are we talking about that we,
This is the one where it's been bid 2 times and discussing who
Okay.
funds what where.
Yeah.
So, other side of the tracks, we got authority to advertise from MDOT. We set the advertising dates, and that should be going up on central bidding in the next week to take bids.
Is that, I'm trying to remember, is that basically a concrete road?
Partially. It's concrete from 5 Points to Mill Street, and then it's asphalt of varying cross sections west going down to MLK.
It goes past 5 Points to MLK, okay. And so-
5 Points is the point where it stops being concrete.
So where it's concrete, what are we doing to it?
Getting asphalt off, working on the joints, putting asphalt back.
Okay.
Layperson's question. Are we kind of learning on Medgar Evers that it's not good for us to put asphalt down on concrete?
But you also, that's good, never do that. The problem is we've already done this. When we did, about 12 years ago, repave the other section of Woodrow Wilson out toward the interstate. MDOT was doing the C&I as a night project. They got all the asphalt off and they found the 2 lanes of concrete. They found asphalt turn lanes, then more concrete and then turn lanes. Getting the asphalt off and seeing what was left. It was okay for a little while to drive on, but the concrete would have needed a lot of work, and there's no guarantee you could have cleanly got the asphalt off. MDOT tried that, something similar on Interstate 20 to try to get that first layer of asphalt off, and it went bad, really bad. My windshield is proof of that. Now I have a new windshield. Once you put the asphalt on top of the concrete, you can't go back to the bare concrete without having concrete that's been pocked up with the milling machine. So if you go with concrete, never put asphalt on it, but if you put asphalt on it, you're kind of stuck with it.
Okay.
And then the one with the update from Mill Street Bridge to 55. Got this from Greg Korb, who is now on paper. He was at EJES. He gave us some very rough numbers based on takeoff, the original plan for a quick turnaround. Asked him for two options. One, just a straight mill and overlay. Don't worry about the third lane. And they estimated just mill and overlay a little over $2.1 million. Granted, rough estimates based on takeoffs. Option two, per plan construction with the third lane, $4.5 million.
So aren't we looking to do road diets in most places?
Woodrow won't be that one of those places. Woodrow needs an extra lane, actually.
Okay.
The extra lane is to have, you have 4 coming off the interstate, and there's the 2, goes back to 3. What we really need, westbound only, you don't need it eastbound, is 3 whole lanes to where you have enough room for all the cars coming in to not have to merge too quickly. They can be in kind of in file, get around if they need to, and then that third lane drops at State Street, which is where a lot of your traffic in the morning is going to the hospital.
But this started as a 2017 1%, MPO project. And we were just gonna do the 2 lanes.
I will defer to your memory. I just know that we
Yep.
gave it to MDOT.
But
Yeah.
it
Because the water line.
started, it started as just being,
Paid.
what option 1 is, although it went all the way to the Mill Street Bridge. MDOT came and asked us to add the third lane to it, and they were gonna pay for that third lane. Then we took bids, and it was out and out and out, so then we gave it to MDOT to see if they would do the project. But the idea of adding the third lane wasn't originally ours, it was.
Okay, I will defer to your memory. I don't remember that part. I
That's
just
correct.
remember the part, and that may have even.
But the MDOT wouldn't do the project
That's
because
right.
of the water line.
I know the water
That
line
came
is-
later,
yeah.
but the third lane was added, and it's a great idea, it needs to be there. But MDOT was the one that said we need to add the third lane. And so, when we brought this up in January was, let's look at option 1 plus MDOT paying for.
Which is option 2.
So based on
Yeah.
option 1, let me ask you this. That's, what is MDOT saying to us in this? Like, they will pay for that, or we?
Option 1 is just straight mill and overlay.
But who's paying for it?
That's
We
us.
would have, so right now we have MPO money, but the MPO money is for
All the way to Mill Street.
all the way to Mill Street. If we decide, you know what, throw the third lane out, forget it, then we go back into the MPO process and some of the things has to be done.
If we throw out the third lane, we have to start the MPO process again? If we didn't apply for the MPO with the third lane to begin with, then why would it?
No, we go back to, the MPO, so the money,
We would
the
use
MPO
MPO.
money comes back to us for us to bid out.
Okay.
Wait. Will it come back if we don't go all the way to Mill Street?
I'm about to get there.
Okay.
With the MPO limits is from Mill Street to 55, and that's what they're gonna expect of us. If we shorten it and keep the money at MDOT, you're looking at, with the third lane be 4.5, hang on. But the water line is still an issue.
I'm not saying that we keep it at MDOT. The whole idea of this discussion was to get it back from MDOT.
Hang on, let me finish.
So we don't have to do the water.
So we don't
Let
have to
me
do the water
finish.
line.
So, the decision that needs to be made first is if we want to do a third lane or not. And then do we want to go back and go back to the federal process without the third lane, just a straight overlay from Mill Street to 55? Or do we want to say, you know what, let's just set all this aside and do a paving for this section of Woodrow Wilson from 55 to State
Okay.
Street and then come back and do State to
Now
Mill
then,
later?
now then, can I go back and say what the original question was in January?
Can I, just for the sake of my clarity, because I'm
Yeah,
confused
I want
at
to
this
clarify
point.
it too.
At this point, I need to understand each option that we have, what the questions are. Is there an option that we?
Wait.
Yeah, because I'm not clear on that.
That's-
I know what
he-
the history
he
has
left-
been.
He left out two options, and that's exactly where I want to go to.
Okay.
The option was take it away from MDOT. Let's bring it back here. The option was, let's look at just doing option one, and then asking MDOT to pay into the third lane and create option two with us doing it. Not having MDOT do the project because they want to replace the water line, which is $7 million or whatever. And so it was to take it back from MDOT. The issue was all the concrete and us getting concrete contractors to deal with this. They didn't like, we could only get one bid, and that's why it went to $3 or $4 million project. But do option one, us construct it, but also us construct the third lane with MDOT giving us the money to construct the third lane. And that was where we had to go to MDOT and talk to Willie and some folks about saying, don't you want to come do this?
Okay, so if
So
we do
that's the
that,
option that we,
so if we do that, the MPO money,
We
would
lose
go-
the
we
MPO.
lose the MPO money.
Why
lose
do
him.
why do we lose the MPO?
Because
Because
we're
it
not
comes
going all
back
the
to
way.
us, they're expecting us to go to Mill Street.
because we're not going all the way to
So
Mill
why don't we
Street.
just pave to Mill Street and
Yeah,
worry about
that's
the
what-
third lane later?
Because if we pave all the way to Mill Street, that's where it's cost us $5 million before because we couldn't get but one bid because of all the concrete work and concrete builders didn't want to do it for us.
We're shortening that.
And
So we're
so-
gonna lose the MPO money
The
regardless.
bad section of road was between 55 and
State Street.
State Street. It's not good for the rest of it, but
Yeah.
the bad
The worst.
section was, what?
The worst part.
The worst part, the worst part of the road is here. When we took bids, we could only get one bidder because it was concrete. That's why we gave it to MDOT, hoping they could get other bids, because only no concrete people want to do work for the city of Jackson at that time. And so that's why we gave it to MDOT. If we take it back and we shorten it and go to State Street, we lose the MPO money. But we were committed to a $2 million project match with MPO anyway. So it's that kind of way it is. We're not getting that section from State Street to Mill done. But if MDOT would then say, we still would like to have that third lane too. And if y'all are gonna do this on those two lanes, let us join in with you and we'll give you $1.5 million and do the third lane. That's where we were talking in January to look at to see what would this cost be, and then let's go talk to MDOT and see if they would join in with it.
Yeah.
Not MDOT doing the project, because MDOT doing the project wants to replace the water
So,
line.
Mr. Perry, just so that I'm
Yeah.
clear, so what you're saying is two options, I'm summarizing for those of us with the public school. So the first project is straight overlay from 55 to Mill. Second option is, why don't we go to the state to say, we'll do what we said we were gonna do if you throw in with us to pay for the third lane. Simple.
Which is what they originally said they were gonna
Okay,
do.
so that's really where we are.
Except that, that's where we are, except that we're giving up the MPO money because we're not going all the way to Mill Street. We're just gonna do the worst section and
And
pay
there's
for
no
it.
way, there's no communication that we can have with the MPO committee and see if that's
That's
suitable.
Their rules are pretty tight as far as limits and expectations.
What do we
so-
lose by asking the question?
I've already asked.
Okay.
Okay.
What do we lose? What do we lose?
That's a good point.
What do we lose by asking again?
Yeah.
I think we'd get the same answer again.
If we don't lose nothing by asking again, we can ask
I
again.
mean, I think if we get MDOT to agree to this third lane proposal, and we go to them and say, hey, look, we're not doing here, but we are doing this.
But we're
with
doing
one
more
thing.
than what we-
We're doing more than, and they might still say no.
So one, based on option one, is MDOT willing to do the third lane on their own?
The water line, if MDOT bid it out, the water line is going to be.
That's not what we're saying. MDOT's not bidding it out.
Hang on.
Okay, but just forget that one. We're not going there.
But-
Yeah.
Explain.
If MDOT would give us state, federal money, whatever, saying, here you go, Jackson, go build a third lane, so they're not on the hook for liability if something pops on the water line, they may do that.
Even
So
if
if we're bidding it out, never mind the MPO money, throw that away. The discussion needs to be had at a much higher level than me, is would MDOT, contribute funds for the third lane to the city? City puts in a separate bank account, what have you, and then we go and bid out that work, and we take the liability for the water line if something happens.
Let me ask you something. How much of the road that needs to be paved does the water line run under?
That whole stretch between the 36 inch water line goes all the way
Down the median, isn't it?
down in the median, down the bridge.
So it just
around the
crosses
bridge.
at one point
Yeah,
and then turns down the
if
median.
this is the water line,
Yeah.
then we could.
No, it's dead under the middle.
It's in the median, the whole length.
Yeah.
And because of tight right of way, the median widening starts in the median. But I can show you exactly where it comes out from Murr, because we had to fix that a few years ago, right in here, where that one little piece of good asphalt is, in this area here, a little bit older than
And to our knowledge, the water line really is not a problem in its current condition.
if you don't touch it, it's fine.
MDOT's worried that because of the bidding,
Yeah.
that
I can't imagine it's getting any more hammering than it gets every single day with all the traffic on that. Yeah, all the trucks and hammering.
Let me tell you this.
But it's
So I'll just share as one commissioner, I am exhausted with the Woodrow Wilson conversation at this point.
Ditto.
I want a solution or a suggestion that we can move forward with. And I'm not really clear, to be honest. Maybe, Jonathan, it is a public school thing. I don't know, but I'm not.
I have had unofficial visiting over drink conversation, both with Brad White and with Commissioner Simmons about.
And I've met with them.
Yeah,
I've
and Commissioner Simmons isn't that deep in the details of this, nor is Brad White, but what's his name? Lee Frederick. Lee Fredericks has been promoted, but this is still over here, is the one that I've had long conversations with, because I was trying to figure out about this water line issue with him before. Now that we have the numbers
Let's just
of
answer.
what the third lane, I guess $2.4 million, what it costs to do the third lane. I mean, because you say.
Take the difference, yeah.
Construct as per plans, I guess the only difference in the plans is adding the third lane. I think having a sit-down meeting with them and say,
That's what I was just.
here's what we want to do. Here's a map, here's where we're talking about it. Would y'all put this money in there? Is there a structure about which you can put that money in there?
I would request that, to your point, that we as a commission, instead of trying to run communication every month or so between the parties and trying to figure out the solution, that we ask for a meeting
have a
where
sit-down meeting
all
with
of the parties sit down together. We've met as a city with them, right, where we brought to you that the cost had went up from what they estimated, but things have, gotten far more complicated than since our last meeting. And so I think, I agree with that.
I think right now, my suggestion, Mayor, is they're looking at their budget and appropriation for the next week at the legislature, and they're fighting that battle. Let's let them get past there, let the legislature go home, and then have a meeting with them, I think would be. And having this number is what makes it possible to have that meeting.
So, question is, so the MPO money is out because we're changing the project. So we could go back and ask.
Well, here's the thing. It depends on, the likelihood, it doesn't seem like it doesn't seem like we're likely to keep it, but I think we should even leave everything on the table until we have the meeting of all of the parties to determine.
Agreed.
I mean, they still have, money still sitting over there committed to the project.
Right.
Yes.
But if you change the project, they got rules.
Leave that is till you meet with the MDOT team.
Agreed.
And come to a final solution on that end on the third lane, and then come back together based on that. make a decision on balance of the project, and then you know, if you decide, then you can draft up the letter, and send MPO.
Consensus, let's go with it.
Commissioner Simmons is
I don't know,
really
do we have to
interested.
take?
Was that a
do we have to- For the sake of it,
That's a consensus.
I make a motion that we schedule a meeting with all of the parties, you know, associated with this project.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you.
All right,
What you got now?
hang on. Let me go find my PowerPoint.
Robert, since that email from him, code wasn't in the package,
I'll
could you just
forward
get
it.
it today, forward it to us, please?
Yeah. Let's see, so we took care of that. The new projects, designs are all underway. Just see when, you know, whenever the field review plans come in for those 5. The bridge replacement program, we have both Myriad and Civil Tech here. Smallwood and Alice, Beasley and Shaw were both approved on April 9th. On the Beasley Bridge, we did have discussion with Supervisor Graham after council meeting. They're gonna look at seeing what they can do to do a splice of the piles that, if it meets state aid approval, can get the bridge back open, but with still restricted weight limit. Supervisor Graham agreed, you know, the concept of, you know, go ahead and get that thing replaced, because you fix it now, okay, it's open but with weight limit, but next inspection, another pile may be deemed unworthy of staying in service.
I, for one commissioner, am just, want to put myself on the record that I'd ask that we look at supporting these projects. Specifically, I want to hear what you have to say about the other projects, Robert. But specifically the Beasley and Shaw Road one, just a very, very heavily trafficked area.
But is Beasley, is the county looking at replacing that?
No.
No, they're gonna splice,
They're looking at-
I know they're looking at splicing that, I know they're not looking at Shaw at all, but I'd heard.
I'll tell, well, let me say this.
Okay.
The call initially came to me from Supervisor Graham, and then I connected Robert Lee to it. I'm unaware, or no one has communicated to me from the county that they're looking at paying for the replacement. I know Councilwoman Lee's on the phone, and I know,
Yeah,
but
she was.
I know that she has spoken to our, to the legislative, to Justice Gibbs about putting some appropriation to pay for the bridge replacement. Where that stands at this moment in time, I don't really know, but there have been other inquiries because it's such a heavily trafficked area.
Do any of these qualify if they have an ERB program this year?
We've not submitted these for applications because these are all recent. So if they do an ERBR program, they would need to take new applications
Yeah,
for them.
If
They would, because there's no limit on the bridges, and they don't even have to be on inventory, they could be glorified culverts.
And so if they do an ERBR program this year, they will take applications and any
Yes.
one of these would apply for? Okay.
Yes, and that's why I wanted to push forward.
Which would
with-
normally be like in a June or July period timeframe?
Yeah,
Now-
depending on the time, but that's why I wanted to push ahead on design, so that if
Gotcha.
money fell out of the woodwork, we'd have plans in hand.
So to be clear, and this is one I had a question about specifically, I read some things that the councilwoman had put out, and I think she's dropped off the line. And I've gotten a few phone calls. I think that, yes, she's gone.
Yeah,
I
she's
think
been
that-
texting me.
That people are under the impression that there is a design already. So just to be clear, we're working on a design for the project.
We're
right?
starting on design, so
Okay.
You got a contract approved for the design?
Tuesday, yes.
Okay.
So at what, I want to make sure everybody realizes, state aid does inspection.
I don't think we're asking.
And if they see something where it warrants being closed, they want it
We're not
closed.
asking for any action on anything
No,
else.
no more action.
Okay.
Sorry, I got skipped.
They don't care if you have plans in hand, they don't care if you have design, they don't care if you do or don't have money. When they say close, it's how quick. And that thing can sit there and be closed years.
Right.
But when they say from a safety standpoint and the structural components, no more, it has to be closed.
So yesterday, when I spoke to you about the conversation between myself and Supervisor Graham, I told you that I wanted to connect you to him and by way of him, his engineer, because I didn't understand whether you felt that the splicing option was sufficient or not. Do you feel like that is a sufficient option? Can we get the bridge open, at least temporarily, until we can find what the source of funding, put the plans in place and everything else?
If state aid approves splicing plan, I'm sure it's Murray talking to state aid team, and state aid says if you splice it, it'll hold up with a 3 or 5 ton weight limit, I'm down with that.
Okay. How do we enforce the weight capacity?
Put up a sign and pray. We don't have any, I mean, if it's an obvious one like a school bus or a fire truck, that's obvious. But a lot of folks, like a U-Haul, blows your 5 ton weight
Will the
limit.
school bus be able to go under the new weight limit?
School bus is easily over.
I don't like that.
School bus is easily over 5 tons.
Yeah.
I didn't hear what you, Councilwoman Lee, you're back on?
I'm scared about that. We would not be able to enforce the weight limit, and I don't want anything to happen in my ward detrimental, especially an ambulance, a fire truck traveling over that bridge, a school bus.
So, Councilwoman, and one, your concern is warranted and heard. I don't know that we're having a conversation. We're not having a conversation of this in lieu of paying for the ultimate repairs. We're having a conversation about whether or not we could look at, a temporary solution that just gets it open while we're trying to pay for the ultimate repairs.
Yeah.
That's what we're trying to do. So if you're saying that you and your community don't want to take that risk and you'd rather it just remain closed until the repairs could take place, then I want to understand that.
That's a good
But this
point.
isn't an either or conversation.
Right. So, just for
And ambulance
everybody's
can still
benefit.
go across it.
Yeah.
And a school bus driver's gonna know that they can't go across it.
Yeah.
So,
what
the
but I
bridge
want-
had a weight limit before we closed it. It was at 3 tons already before we closed it. It was at the end.
Is she gone?
She's still there.
It's not an either, yeah.
Yeah, what are your thoughts? Because I know you just joined us back. What are your thoughts now that we're not talking about an either or?
I want it done correctly all the way.
And don't want it
I don't want a
open?
temporary fix. I want it done all the way if we could possibly. I know it's $750,000. I think we would be willing to wait until it's properly done.
Okay, let me ask you
It'll be
this.
closed until.
It'll be closed. Let me ask you this. Do you want to, and I'll come and we'll have representation. Do you want to have a community meeting in that area and see what the community, we can lift up those options to them?
Sure, I'd be happy to put that together.
Okay, let's do that.
And
It would be closed for several months while you
Yeah,
design.
it could be a long time, because you got to go through design, Angelique. Right now, I get you, because as I said, we're seeing these bridge failures, even though we're not talking about the size of like a Baltimore, right? And then we're interrupting, intervening vessels or intervening vessel in that situation, but still the bridge was not in its pristine condition. So I definitely
I don't want us
don't.
to be left with a temporary fix. I want us, in the long run, to be looking for a long-term
That's not-
solution.
So nobody in the room is talking about just the temporary fix.
Nobody's talking about a
No, we're-
long-term
no,
temporary fix.
long-term.
Councilwoman Lee,
Yeah.
we're moving forward with design of a complete replacement.
That's happening.
That's happening, book it done.
Right.
What the county's proposing is, quite honestly, a temporary repair that can get the bridge back open while we
Wow.
work on the design and bid out of a complete replacement. But the replacement we're
And
gonna do
so the
regardless.
question to the community is this: do you want and do you trust a temporary solution just for the bridge to be open while the ultimate and long-term repairs are in the process of
Replacement.
moving forward?
Replacement.
Replacement is in the
Yes.
process of moving
And
forward.
to the same, it would be a temporary fix that puts it back, as I understand it, to the same standard it was before they closed it.
Yes.
The 3-ton limit being on it, which was already there.
Yes. So if you don't feel comfortable answering that for everybody, then then we can have a community meeting.
And Councilwoman Lee, it's Jonathan Lee. I also want to
Your
say, no relation.
Your other cousin.
But I read your
And
post.
Robert E. Lee.
Yeah. But I read your post and I heard some folks from your community. I heard from them after, I think, a meeting or something. I do want to make sure that you understand that I don't think there's anyone on this commission that opposes fixing this bridge, but we can't vote on anything that we don't have a proposal on. So I think the work that has to happen now is to develop a proposal, which I think everyone is prepared to lift up and support. But I think to the mayor's point of view, I really do think you should consider a temporary fix, because we are talking about probably, let's be honest, a year.
It could be a year.
Maybe a year and a half of that bridge being closed.
And we could be doing the work
Yes.
while it's open,
Right.
instead of, that happening and being closed the entire time.
I mean, it's gonna be
Well,
closed.
then I'll go forward with that. As
Okay.
long as we can ensure it's safe, that's my only concern.
I got
Yeah,
you.
the state aid, state aid will have to approve the county splice plan. If it passes state aid muster, and Federal Highway's looking at bridge inspections very hard in Mississippi over what's happened over the last several years with these wood bridges. If it passes state aid and federal muster, they'll approve it, and then work can be done, and then state aid inspects it and opens it. If it does not pass state aid muster based on the plan, then they'll tell them, hey, this ain't gonna work. And
You have my assurance, Councilwoman, that I'm not going to agree to stopping the
replacement.
replacement process.
Okay. Well, thank you guys. I feel much better. I'm happy with moving forward with the temporary fix.
And in my discussion with Supervisor Graham, I told him straight up, look, you could go in and replace a wood pile with a steel pile, but you got 9 other piles that are junk anyway. What we need to do is replace these bridges as we go and get these wood timber bridges out of service. And Supervisor Graham agreed, that's the way to go.
Yeah.
So I think all hearts and minds are satisfied. Terry and Tony Gaylor will get together on an interlocal for the repair interlocal while we move forward with Myriad on design on the replacement for Beasley and Shaw, and then Civil Tech's doing the replacement for design for the other two in Smallwood and Alice down south.
Smallwood.
I know it's in South Jackson.
Okay, it's besides Jackson.
Southwest, yes.
Southwest, yeah. I think I would.
Yeah.
I heard about that one from Supervisor.
We kind of jumped to that, Robert Lee. Was there anything specifically you wanted to tell us about any of the other bridge replacement projects?
Civil Tech's here and Myriad's here if you want to have any questions for them. Civil Tech's doing design on Swan Lake and MLK, which MLKs are ERBR from last go round.
How long has Swan Lake been closed?
Too long.
2 years, about 2 years?
It was closed before Charles left because we applied for that for ERBR money in 22.
My good friend, how far away are we from the design on that?
You could.
Excuse me, we made, I think we made 1 or 2 submittals to the city. We've had a on-site visit with Energy to see exactly what the problem will be, and so we think there will only be one service line need to be disconnected.
MLK or
No,
Swan Lake?
on Swan Lake.
Okay.
On Swan Lake, and so those should be, if we're okay with that wooden service line, I think we can have those to you definitely within 60 days. On MLK, Robert gave us some comments back last week, I believe it was, and we should get those back to Robert before he leaves, a few comments that he had on MLK. So he should be ready to bid out.
Mr. Perry?
If Swan Lake, you just were talking about, I heard 60 days, that'd be like when it could go out to bids. What's it take? It's a little short bridge, it's a what?
It's a single.
45-day project to build it?
No, I would imagine really when the contract is, you're probably talking 60 days.
60 days. The reason I'm asking, the streets down there at Swan Lake are on our project, B or C, I forgot, whichever one's South Jackson. You know, I would hope when we get to doing, if we do that contract on streets, that we hold off the streets until the construction, in that area until the construction on the bridge gets done, so that there's some communication between the two. If this is moving along that fast,
Get the bridge done, then go pay, basically.
But
Get the bridge done.
Get the
then
bridge
go
done
pay.
first and then pay, and so just let the coordination be said to Neil Schaefer about this.
Yeah, if you could get with Neil, since
Yeah.
they're out of the room now.
But if that's that close to being done, we ought to be doing it.
That
too.
makes sense.
Yeah,
We could do that,
yeah,
Makes sense.
That's an easy one.
that's real easy. I mean, it's a little small bridge, it's not gonna take long to build. Yeah.
It's 19, but it's not on inventory.
Yeah.
What else you got for us, sir? I'm sorry.
Paving, my phone keeps blowing up. Paving projects, we reviewed the 60% submittal for Northwest Industrial Park and then for Gallatin McDowell. We're putting to City Council on April 23rd, a change order to reduce civil tax contract as far as taking out South Street, so we can get that unencumbered and off the books. Because South Street's gonna be a CCID master plan project going forward.
That question, that bullet in the middle, Capitol Street Bowling Prentice, this is what I asked about every single meeting. So that, what
Energy's
is
working
this?
on it. I've not heard from Victoria Love. I will, before I go, call her, say bye, and also to get an update on that.
Okay.
You
And
have
then,
to ask.
I have to ask.
yeah, I know.
Keep
You'll
it ready.
I
probably
mean, it
call-
just, once again, it's a beautiful street, right? Beautiful sidewalk that's done, except for that there are poles sitting in the middle of.
the
like-
unwanted decorations.
Yes. Like
Um,
it makes no sense to do it that well.
My friends in Bellhaven know how to get rid of those poles if you want to.
I don't know what you're putting down. I don't know what you.
They had 2 trees, just tear the poles down today.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, get the
That
trees
is
coming
not
up.
how you really want to do that. I'm just
Yeah.
gonna say.
That would get rid
I
of it.
thought you were referring to.
No.
You know, we had an arsonist dealing with our signals.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you,
No, this
if you
is-
knew something that we
this is
didn't.
This is the 2 up, 2 down poles
got you.
today.
And I left the information for Capitol Street from Prentice to Gallatin on here.
That's the same as last month.
Yeah, it's the same as last 2 months ago. This guy has the estimates, so, you know, discussions with the sales tax commission after I'm gone, y'all can discuss. MPO, call for projects next time. Next bullet point is the projects will be awarded, whatever's awarded meets the criteria. May 1st for the announcement, May 8th to make it final. And I'll miss y'all.
We're gonna miss you too, sir. We're gonna miss you too. Don't worry, I'll call you just to make you feel like you're a part of what's going on. So.
Yeah, you could always,
Oh, you could call me,
you
but
can always,
my city cell phone will probably be in Ruth's drawer, ringing it and buzzing, and then Ruth will get mad and she'll throw
I
it
think we
somewhere
know
else.
each other well enough. I can get your personal cell, don't you think, Robert?
Maybe.
I know.
Um,
Well, if we don't get your personal cell, you don't think you can come back to Jackson in 2045 to watch the solar eclipse.
no,
You know,
I'm going. No, I'm going. No, I'm going.
We
I'm
ain't-
going to Winona or Meridian.
I got you.
It's going right over Rosedale too.
Rosedale. Cool.
But I'm hearing that the best view will be Jackson. That's what I'm.
We're just a hair
Isn't-
out of the zone.
Yeah.
Isn't that right, Jeff?
Absolutely.
That's what you're hearing.
Actually, you gotta be about 15 to 20 miles north for you to be right.
Well, that's not what I'm hearing.
But
For the
people
purposes
just spend
of
the
this-
night here, then they can drive up, spend the night here, eat, drive up there, do it.
Well, if they need to use 55 or 20 or 80 to get to any of those
Yeah.
destinations, there might be a roadblock.
here
Now-
we go,
And the last week, they moved that zone just a little bit in the last 2 or 3 days. So those 2 or 3, 10 miles, 15 miles we're talking about now might get better.
They might come back.
Might come back our way.
All right, motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second. All those in favor?
Yay.
Aye. Thank you all.
I stand corrected. We'll be on the edge.
Yeah, we're on the edge. We're not
Just a
even,
note, we don't have any gender equity on this board.
Not anymore.
No.
You did, you did.
It's
You
all-
had some in the past, but.
This is all guys here. They'll
I
literally
just
say it's a
time to
boys
get
club.
the Chamber
and
of
they'll be-
Commerce to start eclipse advertising for 2045.
2045. We'll
Actually-
start planning now.
actually, we're on the edge here. We're not.
Hey, Robert.
Yeah, we're just
Like you
outside of
All
the
right, thank you.
path of
Just
totality.
go right
Pretty
up.
good. How you doing?
Don't move it.
All we have to do is just get out and move the moon a little bit and it'll
That
get
would be
us.
cool to see the
Something will shake,
I think
or
it's
something will happen.
Well, if you say something will shake and it had an earthquake in New York. They'll shake that.
But don't you-
Well, if I'm 95
Okay,
and
so-
mobile, I'd go watch it, but I
You would
just,
either
I'm
have
not
to
making my
move the
plans to
sun
run that right
and the moon, or, so wouldn't it be easier just to move the
Like my
earth?
stepdad just turned
Will that,
94
will that
yesterday.
correct that for climate
Stepfather just
change
turned
if we move the
94
earth?
yesterday.
I mean, the temperature dropped 10 degrees after we got down to a sliver of the sun you couldn't see.
See you gentlemen later on. Robert?
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, always take it. All right, appreciate it. buddy.
Town a few weeks.
Yeah, I hope, I'm gonna check it out in a second. I gotta go to, one of our employees, is another one retiring, so.
Up at Henry College?
Yes.
Somebody I don't know.
Good luck, Robert.
All right, thank you.
nobody even discussed the two little streets. Avondale.
Nobody got, nobody, not a big deal.
Those just, been driving through them and looking at them, having to come over there.
We'll talk about that.
They didn't even know.
Terry liked it.
Thank you.
What?
Repaving Avondale and Hawthorne, those 2 blocks.
Oh, well, now I won't, but.
No, you will, FUU.
Well, yeah, but I don't run that anymore.
You don't do that anymore?
I don't run it anymore. I mean, I come get the permit and I come work as a volunteer, but I
Yes,
don't-
but as a volunteer, you'll be glad that you don't have to worry about people twisting ankles on Avondale.
That's right,
While
that's right.
running as many 5Ks as you can for an hour.
That's right.
I had to get the right for it.
But doing that second half on water problem either.
Clearly on.
Yeah, it's
Pretty cool.
Nobody said anything.
That's some better stuff right
You
here.
were talking about, you thought there might be
See if I
some.
can get some.
Yeah, but we didn't mention.
Okay.
Got
Okay.
stuff to get.
Um,
Like I can add little
I'll
lens
be
and
down
stuff
city
to
go.
it.
Have a good time. Tell me, I'll take a look.
I will, face me.
It's good for you.
I'm, taking basically a glorified demotion.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, man.
Yeah, but that's